right, we're back live. It's been a couple of weeks. I didn't screw up anything tonight, which is a miracle. Going to talk Dolphins. Let's hope this thing goes well. Good combine, a lot of good stuff, a lot of interesting stuff. We'll talk about the combine. We'll talk about draft, free agency, cap, whatever you guys want, whatever the commenters want, whatever's the deal. But it's going to be, are we getting this thing right? Where are we heading? What does it look like? The whole nine, the whole kit and caboodle. So, Mr. Dirk the Daring, since you got on first, man, why don't you lay it out for us? What are you seeing? Give us the Dirk the Daring overview from the frigid wastes of Alaska.
We're having a heat wave right now. It's like 45 degrees outside and the snow's melting.
Oh,
it's
man,
cool.
it's blistering.
Yeah. I don't know. I like Mr. Success over there was saying earlier, I'm feeling a little bit excited for the season coming up and the process of the offseason. Maybe not, knowing what the result's going to be. Obviously, none of us do, but I'm real excited for the draft and for free agency to start here in about a week and see what this Miami Dolphins front office is going to do for filling in this roster and straightening out the money situation a little bit more. And I'm excited to see it. I don't know what exactly is going to happen, but there was a lot of players in the combine that performed extremely well and a couple that are sticking out in my mind. And I'm just kind of wondering if Miami's thinking the same kind of things that I am. Probably not. But, I'm really high on Membu right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've watched so much video on him and then watching him in the combine. And
so tell us what you think. Cause you played the whole line and everything, man.
Well, I mean, he's listed as a tackle, right? But he's played a lot of guard. He knows both positions extremely well. And we always talk about, it's really good to have players that can swing both ways. And he's that guy. I mean, he's got a lot of speed to get into the back, the secondary on pull plays. So if he was in a position to be pulling and getting into the second line of the defense and stuff like that, he's got that speed and he's got power.
Oh, man, he's 332.
Yeah, and we're talking about guys that like that. That's what we need. And I'm high on this guy. And I almost feel like if he's around there at 13, he's not going to be around much longer than that.
Yeah, I hate to break your heart, man, but I think he's gone before that.
Me too. I think he is too. But I'm just hoping, like I said, if he's there, I think we need to snag that dude because he is.
Oh, yeah.
Impressive.
Oh, yeah. I even think I think Banks is the only one who's going to be sitting near us. I think the other guy, Will Anderson? Or Will, what's his name? I got it right here, man. My notes. Will Campbell. I can keep getting these guys' names. Will Johnson, Will Anderson, Will Campbell. I'm screwing it all up. Yeah, I think Will Campbell.
Will Johnson, cornerback.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Banks is going to be by us, but I don't know. What do you think, Cody? What do you think? If Campbell or Banks is there, I think Membo we would take. But do you think Membo's going to be there? Do you think we take?
I don't know. I really don't know who's going where. That's not an expertise of mine. So I just hope we get the best player and we get a starter. That's what I really want us to get, is a starter
in year one.
Yeah, anybody that can play and slide in at any of our. You made a good point in your defensive video that when we hit the draft, depending on free agency, but we really need young and impact players at so many different positions that whoever the BPA is, it's still going to also fill a need on this team right now. So
that's a good thing about being totally barren.
Yeah. And you know what? Even in like the mid rounds, a quarterback's on the table, I believe, maybe. You know what I mean? So I just think there's a lot of ways the Dolphins can go right now. I just want it to work out. I want a starter, and I want physicality.
Well, I think that's what we all want for the most part.
Let me ask
Mario, what's going on, Mario? Good evening.
Malachi Starks is there at 13, do we take him?
I heard that. I saw somebody putting that guy. I don't know. I haven't really studied him out yet. I'm starting my studies. I told you guys before. I wait till after the combine because but that Ennerwall guy, I saw somebody putting him at us at 13. Ennerwall. Do you like Ennerwall better than Starks?
Me, no. I like Starks better personally.
The combine was insane.
Yeah.
What was it, a 4.38
Yeah,
at
I
2
don't know.
pounds? 43.5 vertical, 11.6 broad jump. That is mind blowing.
What's his weight?
220.
Yeah, dang.
You talking about the guy from South Carolina?
Yeah, I think that's where he's from.
Yeah.
Ennerwall or whatever. I don't see him getting taken to 13, but if all these linemen are getting pushed up and you get some quarterbacks taken, we could have one of those cornerbacks, a Johnson or what's the other guy's name with the B? I can't remember his name. I didn't think he would make it, but he might make it now. It's a little small though. Right? He looks good.
Yeah, what are we thinking on Cam Smith? Like, how do they view Cam Smith going into this year? Is he really number 2? You can't depend on him in any way. They believed in his talent, or they wouldn't have drafted him so high. But he's shown no, durability or dependability. You know who he is? He's our new Devontae Parker.
Yep.
They're like immature.
That's a great point, dude. That's a great point.
Yeah, he's our new Devontae Parker, and he's going to flash. So hopefully it's this year, right? Devontae had that 1 year. He had 1,300 yards, 1,200 yards, something like that.
Armando. Well, yeah, I think you got to build I mean, in a way, too, is limited. It's definitely on the deep outs. He's limited on his health. But I think, for me, if you gauge the limitations have been offensive line far more than Tua. Not saying he's great, but I think the offensive line set the limitations. Clearly, he helped with not being able to throw the deep outs. That exasperated the poor offensive line. But I think you should, if you had built correctly and he stayed healthy, which he did for the most part in 23, you should have won at least one playoff game. I think Mayfield won a playoff game, and he's not so hot, So I definitely think he's limited, but I think the limitations are far more entrenched with the offensive line, the GM, and now it looks like unless they fix it, this defense has been gutted by departures and such.
Yeah.
Abel, man, come on, you're sitting there quiet, man. You're the smart guy. Get in there. Say something. Tell us what's going on. What do you think about all we're saying over here? Man, he's so oh, man, he's pulling a Curtis. Abel's pulling a Curtis, man. What's going on here? I'm a tech master now. Can't hear you, brother. All right, one of you guys take over, man. What do you think? What do you think about what Armando said? Build a strong defense due to lack of a limited QB. Defense wins championships. I agree on defense wins championships and offensive line because you got to run that football.
Yeah, I mean, the offensive line thing for sure, but as far as defense goes, he's right. I mean, we've got so many needs on defense. That's the bottom line. We got a lot of people we need to pick up on defense, a lot of holes. And after the holes are filled, we still need depth pieces. So
I hear you now like E.F. Hutton.
I don't hear him.
I don't hear him either.
You don't hear him? I hear you now, though, man. Abel, say something, brother. I hear you good, man. I hear you loud and clear. Nobody else hears you?
Air.
Oh, man. All right, here, just recycle back in, brother.
So for what Armando said, defenses win championships. That's what I was raised on, grew up on, and it seemed to always be true. But the more football I watch, I think it's the trenches win championships. Like, you can get by with a medium quarterback, medium weapons, only if you have a great offensive line and a run game and a defense. Yeah. But you can't not have a defense, a front, a big, fat, solid front that can stop the run and not have an offensive line and think you're ever going to compete. The other pieces are really great, but those are what really wins championships. The Eagles just put it on display. Oh, man. Just so many beasts, so many powerful players on both sides of the ball. And that's a philosophy for the team.
Yeah.
That's their philosophy. That's where they start. That's where they invest. That's where they make sure it just keeps growing and new talent. You don't ever put in a Liam Eichenberg. You don't ever.
Notice all the talk about Liam. It's very quiet. I haven't heard any Liam talk. Like,
oh, I bet he's out. Is he a free agent now?
yeah. But like, why
agent.
would you invest all these years in Liam only to let him walk?
Yeah.
Like, where's like the commentary of saying, hey, it was kind of weird that he was in all these years. It was supposed that he was going to finally get himself together, and then you don't even like resign him or have any interest. Maybe that says that something else is going to back up. But let's not ruin the evening on Liam talk.
Yep. Hopefully we don't have to keep talking about Liam Eichenberg. Like, hopefully we just don't ever have to bring it up again, and he has a good career somewhere else. I feel good for him. But I just don't want to ever see him in the spin cycle.
No, he's not coming back because Greer understands that it's too much of a negative optics. He's very aware of the optics, so I don't see him. Zong's got it right. Liam earned his right to explore free agency.
Oh, that's what we need McDaniel to say, right?
Yeah, that was great, dude. No, I've never heard anyone. How come no one's ever brought up that? Like, you guys can bring Liam
How about
back? Yeah, you're back.
Good
you're
then.
good. Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Okay. The only thing that I wanted to say after, looking at these players and our team and stuff is that I think for sure I would say that we have to go either offensive line or defensive line. Like, I like all these other players that we have, the good safeties with Starks and Imanwari, linebacker from Alabama, Jihad's real good too. Tyler Warren would be a nice pick, I'd say, but like just the more and more and more that I'm watching these players, because we always talk about cycles, Curtis, and we know that the cycle is going into that A and B gap, running the ball, things like that, where it's like, well, how about for once the Dolphins get ahead of the curve and we build from the trenches, like we always say here on the show. So looking at the players, that's what I've seen more and more. Like, get somebody either on the offensive line or the defensive line, and there's some good players that can make an impact. Like pairing, any of these guys, they fall to us, like Kenneth Grant or Derek.
Yeah.
Like Derek, come on. I mean, Nexus actually would be really, really good.
I think that Grant I liked a lot, but I was very concerned he only benched 22 times. I mean, I was 185 pounds in college, and I could do 225, 16. And a guy who's 330 pounds, he only does it 22. Because all the guys that I really thought he was going to be comparable to, the Veyas, the Sweats, all those guys, they all had good benches. And 22 bench, I'm not saying it's like, oh, forget about it, but it is a little bit of a ding. I don't see him. I see him going in the 20s. And I think Harmon too. A lot of these DTs, I think, are going to go. I think only an edge player is where we'd be able to attack the offensive line, defensive line in that 13th pick. Unless we trade it back, I'd love to trade back. I just want to answer this quick for Armando. Yeah, but if you look, the way the Eagles played the Chiefs with the leverage they set on defense, the lack of blitzing, and then you flip that and you look at how the Chiefs played the Eagles. They crowded that line of scrimmage. There was like 7-8 guys in the box. The leverage was there. The run blitzes were there. The LB's taking a step forward. And so while Barkley didn't have a great quote-unquote game, he set the table for that offense. They even said multiple times they geared up to stop him. And you could stop anybody unless you're like Dallas with that offensive line in the 90s. And so Hurts got a lot of his stuff later on, but Barkley running that football and just being a constant threat opened up those big plays to the outside, and he eventually wore them out. So yeah, the production from the quarterback was higher, but Barkley was the biggest piece of the puzzle on that offense because it dictated how Spagnuolo was calling the game. And if he hadn't been there, if you notice the difference between they played the Chiefs a couple years before, Hurts ran the football constantly and threw the football, and they had totally different leverage, and they played it differently. So I think that, the production was higher for him, but the effect that Barkley had was huge.
Yeah, one quarterback had a much easier job in that.
Oh,
season.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, even the pass blocking is easier, too. I forgot how many play actions they ran, but a lot of stuff gets built off that. And, when you run that football consistently, it puts doubt in the defensive rushers' minds. And so they don't put their ears back. And when that's what you saw with the Eagles, the Eagles were just putting their ears back and just going all out on Mahomes. I thought Andy Reid had a terrible game, not even running that football at all. That's what I said. Jesse Davis wasn't as bad as he should have been sat at right
Agreed.
guard. The last year that everyone remembers Jesse Davis, he had a bad knee. He played, and he's not supposed to be a tackle. Jesse Davis was way better than Eichenberg, which is scary. He could have been a good right guard if they just sat him there and let him develop, but they screwed him
Kept
up.
screwing with him.
Yeah, he'd have been about above average. I think he could have been about above average, like a 7, but for an undrafted free agent. But they screwed him up. He played everything, every spot, rotating back and forth.
Liam Eichenberg. He got the Liam Eichenberg treatment.
Yeah, except Liam Eichenberg was, I don't know, maybe I'm just bitter.
He started the Holy Trinity. He had center, left guard, left tackle, right tackle. We tried Liam everywhere.
So what else do you think, Abel? Come on. I'm gonna put Dirk down in the box over here with me.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, another one. So okay, so you're wanting, do you think that we're gonna actually grab offense of line or an edge player, which is scary because we could actually use an edge player. Abel, what do you think? Or anybody?
I think Abel's muted again.
Oh, yeah. Should start with the trenches, but then he got off it towards the end. I think that's all right, brother. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear him?
No.
I can't.
No?
Hear him. No, you're the only one
I hear
got him.
Dude, there's a ghost in the machine. Does anybody hear Abel besides me?
Yeah, chat, help us out here. I don't hear him. I know that.
Anybody hear Abel? No, I don't know.
So when does free agency start? I know it already started, but when does it really start?
13th.
The 13th? I'm really interested to start following the breadcrumbs of are we in a light rebuild? Are these guys coaching for their job, GMing for their job? I that's what I'm interested to start kind of reading the tea leaves of all the moves they're making and just kind of see what we're going to do. It's really exciting to see if we're going to just go all in or we're here in the cycle as long as it takes with Greer till we get her.
Yeah, no, I believe in that, Deuce. I think if we could get one of those top 3, I mean, we're not going to get what's his face, the dual guy, but if we could get Johnson to fall to us, that would be a huge, huge bonus for us. You can't go into the season with Ramsey and maybe Kohu and Cam Waldo Smith on your team. I think
Duck and Bonner.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Holland's out too. Yeah, Holland.
I got a bad feeling about Holland. I don't know what happened. His career was this guy was going to be a stud for us. He looked like it. Didn't have some of the impact plays you wanted, is what people said, but he just looked like he was going to be something. And then it just the last 2 years have just been on the. I don't really know how to explain it, but
I think he really needs to be that single high safety. He's not, and I think once he got both of his knees damaged, he didn't look the same. I think he could still play maybe, but there was a lot of stuff in his head that wasn't right, and physically, I don't think he fits what Flores did. Single high safety, roving with his speed and his intelligence, but he fell off the map right after that. 22 wasn't that good. It was okay, and then 23 and 24 were abysmal. Oh, you hurt me, Lamar. You hurt me. You hurt me. I thought he could have played a good spot for us. It just kept him, because if you go back even with Gailey that year, he was pretty solid that year as a tackle. He's not a tackle. That's Greer again trying to go on a cheap to get a tackle. That guy got he goes down in infamy now, man. At that 21 season was atrocious, man. But he should never have been a tackle.
Yeah, that Bills game where Tua broke his rib was egregious.
Yeah, but if you notice too, if you go back to that, because they didn't call a timeout. They got to this line of scrimmage late. And think about it. You had Jesse Davis, undrafted free agent, as your tackle, and you had Liam Eichenberg and Jackson on the same side, and they rolled help to him and left Jesse Davis by himself with a bad knee. That was such a bad season. Holy cow. That was lean more towards size. That's kind of why I like Johnson over the other kid, Barron or whatever his name is. Barron's I think at 5'11". We need some size. We need some size.
Yeah.
So I don't know anybody know about Scatterboo?
Dude,
I just watched some highlights. He
Arizona
seems like
State.
a mini Mike Allstott or something. I can't really see.
Yeah,
Really?
he's a little beefcake.
He's a fullback.
He's built like one, but he's actually played halfback.
Oh wow.
But yeah, he's impressive. The guy does not go down.
I gotta check him out. That
I
sounds
think
exciting.
He led the NCAA in yards after getting contacted.
Did he go to the combine?
I don't know. I didn't see anything on him from the combine.
Because his 40 time, I think, is what really the only downside of the guy, I think, is he lacks some of that explosive speed.
Yeah, but I mean, when you run like he does, you don't have to break away. You can just drag people into the end zone.
Such a tone setting. When you have a running back go and lay somebody out and drag somebody in the end zone, it's so – I'll put on Mike Allstott film. I love watching that guy. Like, he was probably – him and Jerome Bettis, guys bounced off Bettis, but the way Allstott just delivered punishment, and he was an athlete, man. He really could get up and go. Like Mike Allstott, if we had somebody like that, man, I'd love watching that again.
Oh, Allstott's the Hall of Fame, and that guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, just a monster. You did not want to tackle Mike Allstott.
No, I love that. I love that.
I'm staying for decoration. That's all I'm going to say.
Does anybody hear him? We can hear you now.
Yeah, just stay for decoration.
I'll go to the bottom. over here.
No.
Hey, I like this draft. What do you guys think about Justin's draft picks? How you gonna make me put it? Jalen Walker. He's a good linebacker. Edge guy.
Taylor?
Yeah. Jason Taylor's son. I don't know about the third, though. You think he's going to go to the third? I like Ratledge.
No, but he looks cool.
Did you see Ratledge's 3-cone? It was off the charts.
Oh yeah. Tate Rutledge is good. Like I like him a lot.
I don't know if we're going to go for him though.
Let me look and see here.
It looks like Inday's got us a Samoan.
I think Jalen, because I still think we need edge help. He's a little bit of a development process, but he's got some talent. Isn't he the guy that plays linebacker? And was that's him or is that Pierce?
Is there a Jared Verse in this draft?
Yeah, can we get him? I like Ratledge. I think Mason Taylor is pretty good, or Garner Helm, but I don't know if we can go in the third. I think he's more of like a fourth. But I'm not a super draft guru or anything.
The bloodline, though. That bloodline.
Yeah, that kid, Salvinaya, yeah. He's the offensive lineman that had great balance, didn't he? Yeah, I think I was watching some film on him.
Yeah. I agree with you, Curtis, on that. I do think we need some edge help as well, especially because I'm really thinking that we're going to end up letting go of old boy Chubb.
Yeah, I think Deuce. I think Chubb. I had a orthopedic specialist contact me, and he said he doesn't think that Chubb's ever going to go back to what he was. He says it was more than just tear; it was like structural stuff. Yeah. That's why it took so long. And so you can get like 20 something million back by getting rid of him post June. I think you got to. It's crazy. If you don't, then I mean, and then Phillips, I even said it, and I said, this guy's, look at his calf. It wasn't right. And he said, he can come back from Achilles and then the ACL on the same leg, but he says he's going to need more time or it's going to get re-injured. And so both these guys, I don't think they're going to be right. And so really, if you think about it, all you really have is Chubb and Kamara. I don't want edge. I'm not saying edge. I would prefer another position, but the reality is that Chop's gone and Phillips might not be the same. It's very hard to have two big injuries like that and then to come back, because he didn't even look himself last year. He started to get a little bit, but he was tentative. And I saw a picture of him recently, and that calf was still very atrophied. So he's gone 2 years with that thing not being. And I've broken a lot of stuff, and that atrophy stuff, man. When it's very hard to get it back full, especially when you've been. He basically came back, and then 4 months later, after playing, he was out again. So
I like that comment by Walt right there. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Where is it? Where's the comment?
You have it up. We think that having all those guys is like a for sure thing, and this one's that wouldn't be Greer's fault. Where Phillips has gotten hurt twice, so it's not his fault at all. Where you think that that's a point of on the team that we don't need anything there, but we're bringing up the injuries, and it just sucks that it's like that's another thing that we have to get better at. Where we thought that having Chubb and Phillips and is okay. We got two guys each on the edges that can go, and it's like, well, if the best available players are at 13, I mean, there you go.
Hey, did any guys watch Will Johnson? I'm just going by the reviews. I haven't really watched tape. Like I said, I only started watching after the combine. I know he didn't run the 40, and that kind of some people got worried about his speed. What do you guys know about Will Johnson? You think he's as good?
Nothing.
You know anything about him?
I like him, but it's just all right. And I might catch some flack from this, so I'm preparing myself. But I kind of feel like Will Johnson could be that next guy that we get with high hopes, and he just winds up never really. I mean, I don't know. He's ranked awful high, but when I watch him on tape, he's just.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the instincts are there.
Really, I got to go check it out. I'm just going off.
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit too, and yeah, it's the kind of thing where he looks. I mean, just from limited to like he's a little bit kind of leaner, and I think somebody in the boundary that would be good. Just looking at tape real quick is Starks Malachi. Like after, like I know that people were saying him a lot in the comments a couple of weeks ago, but me watching him, like Georgia has him everywhere. They have him in the slot, they have him in the safety, they have him in the corner. Like he goes everywhere, and I was like, whoa, okay, I like him if anybody.
Well, he's on our radar, the thing is, it's like, it's such a weird, and I see what Jorge is, I hope I'm saying Jorge, right? Yeah, Jorge. Guys, I'm trying, my wife's Spanish. I've been married 20 years, and I still can't say Spanish stuff. I'm still working on English. Guys are not. Guys, you're not filling all the holes in this roster. You got to go BPA. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Will Johnson's may be the pick. Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I think you're not filling everything. But what does that say, though? Like, is there no real expectations of winning? And I think you have to go BPA. I think that the realistic goal that Grier can attain is to build a solid foundation. If he starts trying to go for, reaching for the stars, I think, and taking all these shots to do things, I think that could be a big issue.
I think making a big, not a splash, but having a really good first round of free agency is going to help a lot with our draft situation. I know we're not going to be able to get everything in the draft, but if we can get, a good portion of some of those heavy needs that we have, like we need more than one guard, we need more than one safety, we need, those things. If we can get a guard and a safety in free agency, that's going to help us a lot in the draft. And Like you
I
know,
agree.
everybody knows the more chances we have in every draft pick to go BPA, I think the better off we're going to be. But if we go into that draft and we have so many finite needs, we would be fools to go BPA if we have definite specific needs that we cannot fill in free agency.
Yeah.
So
Key spots.
and this first round of free agency, if we don't get those things or some of those things, we can't just chalk it up to, oh, we'll get it in the second round of free agency, because a lot of those players are going to be gone.
Yeah. That's why I think the free agency is going to be some with guards, and then they're just not going to deal with the offense. I heard from some people that like have some connections or whatever that they might be going fill it up the guards with the free agency, and then not grab somebody to like late day 2 or day 3.
I mean, what would you prefer? Would you guys prefer we get a green, still a starter, a really good first round offensive guy? Maybe he's a real tackle, but we got to play him at guard. Or do you guys want to grab some guys later that could be starters, but they're most likely going to sit behind some key veteran offensive linemen that we brought in for $5-6 million a piece? Just some guys, some good guards, some guys that are just a little above average, and let the talent sit? Or do you guys want an impact first round starter right now?
I don't know if you want to know what I think.
Yeah, we want to know. That's what we're here. Tell us what you think.
Go, Dirk.
I think we need to jump out of the first round. Trade back.
That'd be great.
If we trade out of that first round, and we pick up a second, 2/3, or second, a third, and 2/4, or something. We can turn that first round pick into a lot of needs filled. Just by the way the draft is looking, our needs are going to be spaced out all through this draft. The needs that we have are deep in this draft.
Oh yeah.
The players that are ranked in the 3rd and 4th rounds are some of those players would normally be in the 2nd round, but it's just they're so oversaturated in this draft that there's going to be a lot of value in that 4th, 5th, and even 6th round. So I think we should just drop out of the first altogether and get as much as we can for it.
Well, here's a little devil's advocate. So
Go for it.
So
Hit me.
that is what a real GM would do. But the problem is, if you look at Greer's success rate in the middle rounds, it's horrific. Like, it's horrific. So he had all those picks all those years from all those trades. What did he do with it? Almost nothing. And so, for me, it's kind of like, yeah, I want to trade back, but then it's like grabbing the blind guy and giving him a bunch of extra dots to throw at the dartboard. Yeah, he's got extra dots, but he's blind. And so I'd rather, take the 13th pick, at least grab one guy that Greer might have a chance to hit on. I know he's had some success. I'm not saying he hasn't, but look at his history over those middle rounds. It's just not there. It's just not there. I mean, he's had some success, like with the offensive line. So far it looks like Pole's pretty good, and Hunt. But I mean, you got your Dieters, and you got your Tyndalls, and you got, your Kindleys, and on and on. He's got Van Ginkel, which was nice, but just think of the draft capital and how many shots he fired. And you go look at Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman, they have like $22 million in the cap right now. I think it's like 40 or 50 next year. And it's like 60 or 70 the year after that. And this guy finds guys, even our hated Bills. You go look at them. They got Benford in the 6th round. It's so, I don't know. I hope Greer can do it. I think it's the right move, but it's kind of like you going all in. He could just totally strike out. So it's difficult. I mean, if he does well, that's the right move. If he, it's his 10th year, maybe 10th year is the charm,
Yep.
So.
Did you hear 3 yards per carry? It was Kaufman talking about the Eagles' financial situation and the salary cap games that they're playing. It was really interesting. They said they don't have anybody over maybe 21 million. Like Jalen Hurts might be the highest paid yearly player on the team at 21 million or something, but they've pushed all of this money years and years down the road. Like what it sounded like is they're guaranteeing there's going to be this reset blow up. We're not going to compete that year. We have to start all over. That they pushed down the road. So I wish I could find which episode
It
that
must
was.
be.
I'll
It
look
must
up.
be late because I checked this year, next year, and a year after that, and they had plenty of money. So it must be 4 years from now.
It was, yeah, they're just mortgaging the future in like a really interesting way. And I think of like, well, what's the league going to be like in 6 years? Like we might have triple the money, and like they look like geniuses, you know, who knows? But it was really interesting. Kaufman, man, that dude is an encyclopedia walking around knowing everything, man.
Yeah, he's real smart. I enjoy him. I do. I learn from almost everything.
I like listening to him and Alf, man. That's a good show.
Alf's a great guy. Yeah. I like that.
So something, sorry, you know, Jorge in the comments and Dirk right now, like I'm gonna go on Curtis's train and say, you know, I think we stay in the first round because something that Mike was saying about letting, because Eagles just let Darius Slay go, but
He's 34 though. He's 34. You got to let him go.
34, huh?
But that they're gonna re-sign him like again, like they're gonna let him go and then he's gonna come right back with a team. That's what they're saying. But something in just that I want to switch gears real quick, just because you know,
Sure.
I know that we like talk about Dolphins and you know about, but just looking at things because from an NBA perspective, my team's the Thunder, and I know that nobody probably around here guys watches NBA, but the Thunder they hit on their picks and they're the number one seed and like they're built through youth. And you could see it too in the NFL where, you know, you have to hit on these picks. We were the oldest team last year. And we like, that's
3 years after being the youngest. We were the youngest 3 years before that. And then 3 years we went to the oldest.
An inverse rebuild, I guess we could say. But I mean, you know, I would say we have to keep pick 13 and, you know, but it's going to be hard because do we really want another offensive lineman that's a rookie blocking for Tua in between, you know, Austin Jackson and Paul, who's coming off his second year too? Like it's going to be, it's going to be very interesting as we've been talking about here.
Well, I think what they're going to do is they're going to get one guard
in free agency.
No, 2 guards in free agency. One guard they're going to spend like that Brewer kind of money. And they're going to put him next to Paul. And then they'll get a average guy, you know, in a 3-4 million range, maybe 5 if Greer gets, you know, totally Rory with it, and then put him at the right guard spot. And because, you know, you got Brewer's experienced, and Jackson is experienced if he's healthy. So I think if you had last year's offensive line, you had put 2 average guys there, it would have been a lot better. So I think they're going to do that. I would like more than that. I think Jackson pulls us down. I think Brewer accentuates us in some ways and then pulls down in others. So I'm expecting them to find one guy like $7 million. I don't know where they're going to get all this money from. You know, like maybe like an older veteran. And then like maybe one guy that's, you know, 27, 28 on the cheat for the yellow guard spot. And then just find other guys they can groom through the season. And that goes to how much faith do you have in Bush? I don't think Butch Barrett. It's so funny, you know, and Butch Barrett we trust, we heard. I think he's okay. But it's hard to judge him because he doesn't really have that much talent. He's always had injuries. But I don't think this guy is, you know, some people were talking, you know, like he was Skarnecki 2.0 for a little bit. There was like a period there, like, I'm like, gotta be kidding me. So I got a little bit, but I think he's a guy who knows his stuff, but he's really just based on talent, you know, like most coaches.
So for those of you that think that we should stay in the first round, citing talent, provided that we had a pretty successful first round of free agency, let's say we got a couple guards, you know, some $5 to $8 million guards, a couple of them. That's kind of what I was thinking. We'd be having to spend a year on those guys. Let's say we did that and say we got a safety and then we went into the draft. What would you guys say instead of trading out of the first round? What about trading back in the first round? Because there's really not a lot of of drop off going back to say 26, 27, 28 in the first round.
Well, for the right guy, yeah, that'd be fine, But it's for me, it's like
3 drafts, 3 picks.
Yeah. It's just the oddest thing. It's such a weird situation because are we supposed to try to win this year? Is there actual accountability for success this year? I hope there's not, because then that's going to cause them to get desperate. But if there's a real accountability to win, then that's going to hurt them because they need everything. I mean, they need so much stuff. All you really got is Ramsey, Brooks, Chop, and Sealer. That's it. That's all you got on defense. That's literally all you got. You have nobody else at D tackle. You got Phillips and Chubb coming off injuries. Kamara, who maybe. You got who else? Maybe you bring Kohu back.
What about Ogba? I know is Ogba in the works? I like Ogba. Maybe. I don't know. I think he's a good player, man.
Yeah, he's older, another year older. He'll do something for you, but I mean, the loss of Campbell in leadership and production.
He's for sure gone, though.
He's not coming back here. We think he's coming back here.
My heart wants him to. So
of course, but he's not going. If he's going to go if he's playing again, he's going to go someplace.
We ain't winning a Super Bowl here. Go get it somewhere else.
Go to Philly.
Sorry, Cody.
And
I love me some Calais too, man. That dude.
Oh, he's unbelievable. You got to give Greer credit, but it was really Weaver talking him to come in because of the relationship. But that getting him on a cheap like that, literally offset Wilkins for a year. But now that he's gone, it's a huge hole on this defensive front. Chop can't stop the run. Phillips could, but he kind of wasn't looking. He's just not the same. Chubb can, but he's not the same. Kamara struggled on it. And then you got Sealer. That's it. And Brooks, I like Brooks a ton, but he's not a tack, stack, and shed. So somebody else said, and I think it was Lamar, you need a middle linebacker. You don't have any safeties. You got one cornerback who's older. You got 4 prime guys. What if one of those guys gets injured?
Yeah, especially Ramsey. If Ramsey goes,
oh my gosh. So I hate to say it, but the best option is to go for a 2-year thing. But I just don't want Greer for 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think, how does Ross look at the roster and go, all right, these guys are in win now mode. I'm going to tell them you got 1 more year. To be realistic, maybe Ross really believes in McDaniel. He obviously believes in Greer. So maybe he does believe that things are going to look up and these guys can fix their mistakes here. But it's unrealistic to say you're going to go all in with no money and the most holes in the NFL possibly, so.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're here to stay.
I think they're definitely here for 2 years. I think the only way Greer's here for at least 2 years. I think maybe McDaniel could get sacrificed if the team breaks down. I mean, there might be. It depends. If they win 7, 8, 9 games, I think it'll be. But if we lose we only win 5 games or something, somebody might get Greer. I don't think. I mean, McDaniel. I don't think Greer's getting sacked. I think he's here. He knows he's here. And I just don't see any changes coming out. So I think they're going to play the long ball game. So in that case, but I think you got to be prepared because there's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Get on the draft.
No, I like Pierre-Paul. He'd be a good little cheap. You need to find a lot of those little cheaps. But right now, you're going to have to find a lot of your guys in that second free agency period. You're not finding it now. He was Calais Campbell. If you read the novels by Howard, he was a head taller than everybody, and he was strong as a bear, and he was fast as a leopard. And that Campbell was definitely. I called him Calais Conan Campbell. He was that guy. He was unbelievable. That dude, especially in his prime, but even last year, yeah, he was. I miss Campbell already. He was even on the sidelines. And he's yelling in week 17 or 18, whatever, against the Jets. Come on, get everybody motivated. He was unbelievable. It's going to
imagine a season without him. Imagine because he came late. we thought we were going to fill it with Benito Jones and Tier Tart. And if Campbell would have never showed up at the end to save that position, it could have been real ugly.
I'll say, hey, DF, I'm curious about the FinFan assessment about the player quality in later rounds. What is that pronouncement based on? I don't know. I'm not the draft expert.
Oh, I'm not a draft expert either, but from what I'm seeing, I mean, it seems like there's an awful lot of guards and safeties and cornerbacks, and these players. There's a lot of good ones in the later rounds. It's just based on their performance. It's not based on anything. It's just comparing to what I've seen in previous years. That's all it's about. Is that it seems like there's an awful lot there. It's awfully deep. So, I mean, this is one of those years where we have a lot of needs that match up with what's available in the draft. Do I know how these players are going to be when they come out? No, no one does. But from what you can watch on TV and in their games that they've played, I mean, there's a lot of positive things for a lot of these players. And when the needs match what the availability is in the draft, that's when you might have some room to do some different things. And it's been a long time since we've had a lot of draft picks that could easily match up with what's available in the draft. It's just not that common.
Yeah, it's from what people are saying. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't really know. But there's always players being found. We just don't seem to find any of them. There's always players being found. I mean, we chose Skylar over Purdy.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So
going back to Dirk's question, like if we get, because Dirk had said, okay, we're going to take guards in free agency, and if we get like a safety, then I mean, if we trade back down to go to the defensive line, maybe if somebody, like they're saying in the comments, Jihad Campbell, if he's there, I don't think he's going to fall. I guess it's going to depend on, are we going to fall into later 20s or upper 20s? But maybe somebody like Mike Green, who's another defensive end. That guy's pretty good too. I kind of liked him. I was watching a little bit of his video. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. How are they going to do it? What are they going to address in free agency, which is before the draft? Because right now, like we have the draft out. So
we only got $9 million. We're going to need more money than that because you got to clear your books up by now. We got $9 million right now.
Right.
And so for me, if it was Coach Curtis or GM Curtis,
do you guys think we're going to get rid of Alec Ingold? I think that's a good question for
the money. The money is
it's a money thing, huh?
Yeah, it's a balance. You're not really making much. It's very hard for them to cut right now. I mean, you could pick up a little bit here or there, but it means you got to either extend Tua, you got to extend Hill, you got to extend Ramsey.
But he's an awesome. I mean, I know that the fullback isn't a very important position, but he's a great guy for us. He's a leader too in the locker room.
In his offense, he's pretty important though.
To an extent, his blocking is hit or miss. In a run game, he's pretty good in a pass game, but he was brought here to catch the football, and he was caught, and we can't do that, so he's kind of being wasted, So I think you've got to get, for me, and I'm not saying this is what I would do. I would have got the whole damn team. I'd have canned Hill. I'd have traded Ramsey. I mean, I'd trade everybody I could under the sun to get something, but in the vision of trying to make this thing functional, I'm getting myself a $6 to $7 million guard. I'm trying to find a 3 to 4 low, cheap kind of guy, fill those 2 guard spots, find at least one guy either to play the 0 or the 3 technique to work with Sela on the cheap, the $5 to $6 million range, D lineman. And then maybe if you got enough money, you try to find a safety that could be steady Eddie. You get a steady Eddie veteran safety. And then you go into the draft. And once you get in the draft, you hope a cornerback falls you because you can't afford a free agent cornerback, one that's going to be what you need. You got to find a cornerback in this draft. You've got to find either an edge player. I like the one guy I really liked, who I would love for us to get. What the heck's that guy's name? Oh, man, I got him right over here. Hold on a second. Landon Jackson. I love Landon Jackson. I think he's fallen out of that first round. And the reason I like him is because he could play that elephant. He could play the strong side of the football. He could play opposite Chubb, high intelligence, big guy. He's got a little Van Ginkel in him. I think you need to get some physicality on his front. The linebacker thing, you're going to have to ride Brooks and try to find somebody to play to Will, although Brooks should be to Will. But you've got to find a really good cornerback. And in that safety, you can find so for me, in my build, I would find a complimentary tight end in that fourth round, maybe third if it's the super right guy, to work with Jonnu, because if you got the veteran guards in there, and you can kind of keep your health with Paul, Jackson, and Brewer, and then you got Jonnu who can sort of block, but he's a threat, and then you got another tight end who can kind of block and kind of catch the football, that kind of builds a little bit of a physical front, and you're kind of wrapped up there. I wouldn't spend too many draft picks on a running back. You got two already. You got to find a backup quarterback. You got Hill, you got Waddle, you got Washington. Half the time we don't see these guys. They're two receivers and that's it. So maybe one more receiver someplace at free agency. Because remember, a lot of what we're going to do is probably get rid of Chubb, and it's going to be that second round of free agency. And so for me, the draft's got to give us maybe a spectacular safety if you could find one, a real, somebody could, but certainly a cornerback. And you're going to have to probably bring Kohu back on the cheap because he's a restricted free agent. Maybe if you find a middle linebacker, but then it's going to compromise you someplace else. Some offensive line depth, because you got about 10 picks, and my cat wants to say hi. So for me, the draft's got to bring you a solid complementary tight end, a cornerback, defensive line help, whether it's edge or interior. I think it's got to be interior, although I love Landon Jackson, and then a safety. And then you can find some other stuff to flesh out, because you got to build a physical front. You've got to kind of offset some of your weaknesses with Jonnu and got to have some depth back there on you, because someone's going to go down on the offensive line. But maybe you get a guy in a little bit later and you can groom and marinate him, and hopefully we stay healthy for all season, or at least middle part of the season. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a complimentary tight end, defensive lineman or edge player or both. It's going to be hard to do that. Certainly a cornerback. I think cornerback's got to be one of your first two picks. It's got to be one of your first two picks, and then that safety. But then it's all spit and bail wire using that Chubb money and whatever else you can get to find guys to fill in second round of free agency. It's going to be tough. I mean, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be really tough.
And like you said, and a couple other people have mentioned in the comments and what we've talked about, look, we have a lot of needs, and there's absolutely no way that we're going to get all of these needs taken care of.
No.
So what we need to do as Dolphins fans is, what's the one thing we haven't had in years? Line strength, offense and defensive line strength. We need that. And so I know we have a lot of these other things going on. There's some great running backs in this draft. Sure. There's some good wide receivers in this draft. Sure. There's good players all over the board. But if we let ourselves get that, there's candy. If we let ourselves get that mentality, like Chris Greer seems to get every year, trying to make that big splash in free agency, or go get some 5'8" receiver or something like that, we're not going to do it. If we end up going that route, we're screwing ourselves. So we as fans, we really need to hope that our team focuses on the trenches. As boring as that might sound, that's what we need. We need defensive linemen. We need offensive linemen. And if we don't get those things, the season is truly effed. It's just simple. We can make do with a couple young safeties we got out of the draft. We can make do with a smaller cornerback room where we have to fill in with a couple undrafted free agents or something, or put Storm Duck in there. We're going to have to. Something is going to have to be sacrificed. But the one thing we shouldn't sacrifice on is the trenches. It's just that simple.
Well, I would say I agree if we were coherent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you accepted that you were in a full rebuild, what you would do is say, hey, We got to figure this guy out, make sure he stays healthy and get him his best evaluation. We're going to lock down this offense and we're going to try to do our best, maybe get that cornerback and then build it out because it's going to take us 2 or 3 years to put this thing together. But they got to flim-flam and make it pretend. It's going to be pretend time. So Greer is, in my opinion, Greer is going to get 2 low-level guards and then tell you it's awesome. It's going to be awesome. Butch Barry we trust, and it's going to be good enough. We feel really great about this offensive line. And then he'll say, look, you see, we invested in free agency. And then we'll grab a guy in the 4th round and in the 7th round or 6th round and say, hey, look, we invested in the draft, and then it's going to be pumped. You see these guys awesome. Look at the tape. They're so awesome. And that's what I think it's going to end up being. My cat's shaking my camera now. So you get out of here, bum.
Well, Dirk, what you're saying is we need a philosophy shift. That's all we're saying is we just need Greer to do a complete philosophy shift. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's really going to happen. It'd be awesome. But in Dade's comment about Dolphins concentrating on the trenches, immediately making your team better, making all of your skill positions better. I spend a lot of time on the internet arguing like, if those skill positions were better, the running or the offensive line was better, running backs are better, tight ends are better, wide receivers are better, quarterbacks better. People love to say 2 is worse with more time because of some stat they look at.
That's crazy.
What quarterback is worse with more time?
That's crazy.
Like,
people have
especially
lost
our
their damn
quarterback.
minds, dude.
I hate that. So I just, like Dirk said, I just really want the offensive line and D-line. And let's just pray. We're going to know real soon if Greer's doing the same shit or something different. We're going to know real soon.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Here's what's going to happen. If we end up actually focusing on improving the trenches, this year might not be the best season for us. Like some people say, a lot of trench work and stuff, it takes time and development because it's not an easy position to play. I don't care what anybody says. It's one of the hardest positions in the NFL. And if so, let's say that happens and we do focus on our trenches. I'm so frustrated with this because if it does happen and it does work out and we do improve our trenches greatly, defense and offense, no one's going to talk about it. It's going to be Curtis on his channel talking about it. There'll be a couple other channels.
Idiot Curtis who doesn't know what he's talking about.
There's going to be a couple that talk about how the work was done to improve the offensive line. And everybody else, if it does happen, no one's even going to talk about it. So a successful offensive line and a successful season in that respect for Miami means that no one's going to be talking about the improvement that was made.
It's anything in life. It takes time. It takes time to be coherent and to be near each other and grow as a team. And yeah.
Hey, this is a great question. What would you guys consider a successful season?
Philosophy shift.
I have it. I'm
clear
ready.
philosophy shift on the field, off the field.
Finally, I want to playoff win. I want at least a playoff win again. Sorry.
Compared to success,
I dream a genie, man. I dream a genie. Get that bottle ready, brother.
Man, compared to the success that we've had and where we've been, I would say number one, a playoff win would be nice. I'd say a top 10, top 12 offensive line would be nice. Maybe top 15
to make the playoffs. I guess I'll
those
say
things,
maybe to make
those
the
things
playoffs.
would mean that some success on our side. I don't think a Super Bowl or a Super Bowl appearance is going to happen. I would say I'd be satisfied with playoff appearance, playoff win, top 15 offensive line, and maybe 11 wins. That would be a success compared to what we had this year. That would show me improvement if we improved the offense and defensive line.
You guys are not going to like my. You're not going to like my take then.
Do it. Crush our hopes.
So no. I think it's actually less than that. I think it's more about the fundamental reconstruction of the character and consistency and physicality of this team, starting with the. So it doesn't have. It's not, to me. If I actually see the linebacking leverage start looking less like Fantasia, and more like what the rest of the NFL sees. If I see them blitzing more, if I see us being able to run inside and take from the defense and dictate, and then I see us as a defense and offense find that physicality to be able to play on the road in bad weather and be physical, not when they're a garbage team and we run the football the last 10 minutes when they're gassed and run the ball 20 times and say, look how good we are. I mean, show physicality, show consistency, show a larger menu. Show a larger quiver, arrows in the quiver. Hey, we can run inside zone. We can run outside zone. There's legitimate play action. Hey, you know what? We don't need to run constant, this motion stuff. We can put some of that on the table. Hey, we could add a few audibles here or there. These things, to me, would be far more than a play. A playoff would, good, and could mean something. But to me, ultimately, if all the elements aren't rectified, it's going to be the same dog chasing his tail. And I think it really lowers the bar for me. If I can see inherent reconstruction, fundamental reconstruction of the flaws that we've had up until this point, a little more true set pass blocking, the demand to throw at 2.03 perpetually 77% of the time. If, we can throw the football clean time, even like the second team in the league at 2.17, I'd say, hey, we're heading the right direction. But if it's going to be more of the same, it's going to be more of a fantasy. And I don't believe it's going to be legitimate. So I want to see true trajectory. Not many people said it. I got a lot of grief, but in 22, I said, I'm not really, this offensive line is going to hold us back. And I said, hey, after we had the Broncos game, I was saying, all right, I know those big yards guys, but you're an idiot. You can see, you watch the DCs, the book is out on us. If they play the same book as they did last year as this year, I don't care what we do, because when you face the good teams, you ain't going nowhere. I want to see the book change.
We got to get ahead of that book and go defensive line, offensive line. Like, it's a copycat league, and we saw what won the Super Bowl. It was the trenches, and we've been.
It was passing the ball. It was fun ball, passing the football. That's how you win in the modern game.
I agree with you, Curtis. You said it well, man. You just got to look different. It just has to look and feel different.
How about this for looking different? Week 1, they go on the field, whoever they're playing, and we see them pull like a longest yard type situation. Just go out there and pick a fight. Whole team. I'd love to see it. Let's get a couple players suspended for a game. Let's just pick a big old fight first thing right off the bat. Just go mop the floor with somebody. Finish the game with half the team. I don't know.
That's another level on top of it. I mean, you're asking to fill all these holes. I don't want to be the negative Nelly, but then you're asking Mike McDaniel to become tough and to reel in. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff. Plus, then he's got to expand his menu from the calls. And so there's a lot going on here, There's a lot going on here.
I think his press conferences, I respect the guy, and I know we've had a lot of losses where he has bad game management, but I think you can kind of tell that he's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Because he talked a little bit more direct. Like, he was like, well, okay, I mean, of course, Chris Greer wasn't there, obviously, but I think the way that he spoke was a little bit more forthcoming with things. He was a little bit more confident and stuff like that.
Yep. I agree. I think he was asked to do an unenviable job. And to come in here and to not have the offensive line, asked to win immediately when he's in the booth, run game coordinator and then the HCOC. I just got a weird kind of feeling that he's the first one to get sacrificed and Greer will be around past him for another build. Maybe like with Weaver or something. I don't know. But I like some of the stuff I'm seeing. Some of the stuff I don't. Like I hate the one line. Like, it's on the tip of everybody's tongue, the offensive line. Like, how can you say that after telling me you were more confident about this offense? Either you were lying to me to start the season, or you were incompetent, but there were some good things, there were some good things. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard. It's so hard you can loosen up more like Coughlin than you can reel it in, so, but I think he's a decent guy. I think he's a good guy. I don't think Greer's a good guy. I think he's got the tough. So I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, anybody else have some questions here? Anybody else want to talk about anything? There's some really good stuff tonight. I appreciate that. Anyone want to round up with anything we kind of missed?
Thanks for everybody who showed up in the chat.
Yeah, well, that would be a legitimate goal for a team that's in this position with an owner that could get people in here to replace them. That is exactly what it should be at this stage. Definitely. But you're dealing with an owner who has a hard time getting people in here. And if you go off Greer and McDaniel, who are you finding after? What kind of GM are you going to find to come in here? So I totally agree. But we have like an odd set of rules. It's so bizarre. Any other team would have fired this whole group, but it just keeps coming back. It's like Michael Myers or Jason, just another episode. So I totally agree.
You gotta put Larry Thompson's comment up here.
Where is it? Hey, Yuki, we're so cooked. Yuki, where's Larry?
Yuki had to go. Oh
yeah. McDaniel, can even speak without saying I mean.
Oh man.
Intelligence and public speaking aren't directly tied together. So
no, but it does hurt. I can't. It fries my brain when I hear that. It does grind on me after a while. Like I think the other thing, he was in the combine and he was like trying to pretend like he was hiding from the camera or something. I'm tired of the funny stuff. I think it was all right, but at this stage, I'm tired of it.
At least he looks better this year. He looks cleaned up. I think. I'll say that with you at least.
Some of the smartest kids I've ever worked with in my life have a hard time putting a sentence together, but their IQs are just off the chart. Like it's like this give and take that our maker does with us sometimes. So when I see people that can't really get it out, everything they're trying to think, sometimes I think, man, that's a extremely high level of intelligence they're battling through trying to get it out. So
yeah, it's hard. The whole camera, I'm telling you, man, like I hate the camera. I hate it. I feel like it steals my soul every time I step in front of it. And could you imagine the pressure that he's under? Because it's so weird. I think he's got a public anxiety because if you watch him in film studies with players and stuff, he's very like quick. I've seen him do like football talk, and he's just like da, 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 da. But when he seems to be in front of the camera, there's a lot more the thing, and I don't know. It seems like this, like almost like a Ricky Williams anxiety, because if you go back, when I first heard about him, we would see some of him break down film about the receivers cracking down, and he was all just da, 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 da. And it just seems like it's gotten worse and worse. I don't know. It grinds on me, but I feel for the guy.
Tough. Yeah, I used to like it. I used to like it first year, and then I was like, I'm just going to read the cliff notes of that presser.
So anyway, guys, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to be with Steve Malloy on his channel tomorrow. They're going to have a football roundtable talk, and one of the brothers is going to be – he's played college, big-time college offensive line. So I'm going to get to learn a lot. So come check us out. It'll be tomorrow at 7:30 Central Time. And
on your channel?
No, on Steve's channel. And then I'm going to come back. I was going to do Wednesday, but I'm going to do Thursday at 7:45. Just me, because I want to start answering people's comments. People ask me for questions and stuff like that. So if you guys want to check me out, I'm going to put it up. It'll be 7:45. I'll stay as long as you guys want. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be doing this past the season. So I want to spend as much time with you guys as I can, just in case I don't, and also just because we'll see, So I just want to get that time in because, people have been asking me, like, what about questions? So if you have questions, you can put them up on that night. You can email me. I can email them. If nobody has nothing, I'll get off a little bit, say hi and whatever. But that'll be available for you guys because you
can tweet them. Awesome. If you got a question, you really want them, tweet them throughout the week. Tweet them in the next few days, and I bet he'll read that. And
I'll study it out.
Live.
So anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody. Dirk the Daring, Abel, and Mr. Success, also known as Cody. You guys are the best. Everybody in the comments, I appreciate everything from you guys. You guys are the best. Have a good night. Go Fins.